Hello, this is Bobby Lane with Bobby Lane Productions, and this is the third in a series of tutorials on Ultrabeat. In this particular tutorial, we're going to cover creating your own kit using third-party samples. So let's get started. We'll open up Logic Pro, and once it loads up, we will show you how you want to save. There's a particular setting that's pretty important. I'll show that to you in just a second here. Okay, let's create a new empty project. And first thing it's going to ask us how many tracks do we want. Just for the heck of it, let's put 2 software tracks in there. That'll create them. Alright, and in our first software instrument track, we'll go ahead and insert Ultrabeat. And of course, as usual, we'll do the multi-output version of it. And there we go. So first thing you want to do is change it from the default setting to the drag and drop samples kit. This drag and drop samples kit is pretty cool because it's totally empty. It allows you to enter in to load up your own samples. So I've already got a folder set aside waiting on the desktop, and I've got it labeled Ultrabeat samples, but I could label it anything I want. But let's load our first sample, and then I'll show you what I meant by being important to check off a certain box. So here we go. Here's my desktop. Here it is right here, Ultrabeat samples. And the first thing we want to load up is a kick drum. So let's load kick number 1. These are samples I got from a third party. There's hundreds of them, and I've just selected certain samples that I really like. So let's go ahead and play this. Sounds pretty good. Now, let's save this project. Command S if you're on a Mac. And we'll put this on the desktop. We'll call it UB_Tudo3. Now, the box that's important that you make sure is checked off is right here. Copy Ultrabeat samples to project folder. So it is checked off. And we'll hit save. All right. So whenever you have a project with Logic, it usually, if you set it up as one of your preferences, will create an entire folder for that project. And inside that project folder will be what I was talking about. So here we are. Let's go to the desktop. Here is what I just created, and there's the Ultrabeat samples. And of course, all we've loaded is just that one kick drum. So as we go along, it will be filled up with all the samples. Of course, you have to save it for that to happen. So anyhow, let's go to our second one, sample number 2, and load up kick number 2. Kick number 2 right here. And as usual, just double click, type in the new name you want. That way you keep everything nice and ordered. Let me give a space there. I think it looks better with a space. There we go. All right. Next one here, let's load up a snare or 2. Load sample. Snare number 1. Double click. And then snare number 2. And obviously, as you go along, if you already have your samples in a folder, it'll keep going right back to that same folder. So let's listen to these 4 voices that we've got. Now, one of the things that's important is you see on this snare here, the amplitude envelope is pretty short. So let's take it all the way out and let's listen to it. You hear a lot more of that sample. You can actually hear the room a little bit. See if it applies to this one. It does go a little further. So that's pretty important. Every time you load the samples, I make it a rule of thumb. Just open up that envelope as far as it'll go. If you need to see the end of that, just zoom in, and there it is. Go to short again, That's as long as it'll go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start loading these. I will speed up the video so you don't have to take it in real time. We'll speed this up, so let's get going. Okay, there we are. I've got 23 voices loaded up, and these last two I'm just going to double click, hit backspace, leave them blank, so we'll have them handy if we need them for something else. And then make sure we save our project, Command S on a Mac, and there we go. So basically we've got our own kit now. Let's go ahead and save it as something. So we're going to save this, save setting as, or save setting as, and we'll call this my 23 voice kit. Of course, I might have to change that title if I add any voices, but anyhow, we'll just save it like that for now. And Logic already has a directory for this. The directory is, as you can see right here, and that's where you're going to have your kits available to you. Bam. So if you were to go here in the drop-down menu, there it is right there. So it's available. All right. Now, one thing to add, if you are sharing MIDI files with someone else, there you have to have it mapped the same way as theirs. So if, for instance, I had kick, snare, and then I changed to hi-hat, and then I had my toms here, the MIDI information when you send out a MIDI file will not be the same. So you have to make sure that your drum kit is mapped the same as whoever you're working with, so that when they get that MIDI file, it'll all sound correct the way it's supposed to. All right, speaking of MIDI files, let's go ahead and create something, and then I'll show you in Logic how to create a MIDI file. It's pretty simple, nothing to it. All right, so let's listen. And of course, you can pan things however you like. We're not going to worry about that. We've already covered that. So let's just create a real simple little track here. 1, 9, 17, and 25 on the downbeats. Let's go up to the snare and the every other downbeat. There we go. And let's get a hi-hat going here. Go into full view. Let's right click every downbeat, right click every upbeat, and then on the open hi-hat, let's say every downbeat, and then shift over one beat, shift right, one beat. All right, let's hear this. That doesn't sound very good. What happened to my kicks? Okay. Must have cleared them by accident. No worry. Let's just set them up real quick. Didn't see that coming. Okay, those hi-hats sound really bad. Number one, they're too loud. The kick drum's a little too loud. Let's say shift shift right a half a beat. And let's go ahead, shift right a beat. Take that out, take that out, out. Okay, every downbeat. And let's see, every upbeat. Come down to the kick. Okay, so we're going to drag and drop our MIDI file, and that'll be, whoops, that'll be right there. 2-measure MIDI file. So now, okay, so I've got a MIDI file sitting in my project. How do I convert this to something I can actually send to somebody? Well, you go ahead, let's see if I can find it easily enough. Export as MIDI files right there at the top. And that would have been under the export. So export as MIDI file. Now, see if I wanted to, I could send that out as an audio file. Or I could even add it to my Apple Loops library. Say that 3 times. But I'm going to send it out as a MIDI file. So let's go ahead and export as MIDI file. There are some events, position, blah, blah, blah. Move all positions before one, or put upbeat events to bam, bam, bam. Let's just say move all. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Okay, and here is my, let's go back here, boom, here it is. Let's go ahead and drop this MIDI file in here. Okay, save. So, all right, so we've done that. I'm going to save this, I'm going to close it, I'm going to open Recent, and let's go right here to this one. Let's open that up. Okay, this is a totally different version of Ultrabeat. This is a kit that I created called NC Beatbox, and let's listen to it real quick. Now you can see I've got my samples here. I've only got 1 kick, 1 snare, my hi-hats and whatever. So it's not going to be mapped. It's not going to be mapped the same way the other one was. But let's see what we can do. Let's open. Let's just go to our Finder. Look for that in this here. There's that MIDI file. I'm just going to drag and drop it right here. And there it is, 2 measures. Let's hit equals, hit / and it's going to play. Okay, so let's see if I can open up my 23 voice kit. Okay, there it is. Let's see how it sounds. Pretty cool. Now the other one was a lot faster. This is 108.4. I think the other one was 120. So very cool. So there you go, folks. That is it. Creating your own kit. Make sure you, when you open the project in Logic, you save that project. Make sure you check off the box where it says save an Ultrabeat folder in the project. You can export your MIDI files You can load all your samples from a third party or from actually right from within Ultrabeat. Within Logic and Ultrabeat, there is a lot of samples that are very, very good. So I think that's going to cover it for now. Let's go ahead and close up this tutorial, and y'all have a great one. Enjoy Ultrabeat.